Why not do this? Because he thinks this is his tack to win the primary in the presidential primary election in the Republican Party, and then tack back to something more normal.
Would you like bring a lunch?
Like everybody else does.
He's also.
I brought me some Bud Light, bro.
Oh, all right. So he's gonna.
I mean, I'm saying.
I like that it's in the bag, by the way.
What kind of man drinks Bud
1967?
Light? What are you like trying to cut calories? You're trying to get into the thong. You're going to San Tropez. I don't know women that drink this. So
You're the thinnest guy at the
suspect.
table, by the way.
So I don't think I've ever tried a Bud Light.
No, I disagree with you.
Is that a grape
I think
knee-high?
that he's-
I mean, I don't know if I
I
tried
can't
it.
believe that you're having this drink right now. Like, I'm
Oh,
not
please.
Gonna,
You've
this is
seen
not
nothing.
journalist
Lindsay,
behavior.
this is nothing.
This is not.
Look, he's struggling with it, though, because he only drinks, like, his own home-distilled rye mash.
Okay, let's reel it in. I don't think.
Give me an IPA and a cigarette. I mean, dude, I just do some push-ups. What is this? Oh, by the way, this is my own personal opinion and has nothing to do with the
journalism.
network. Okay.
Live from downtown Detroit, it's No BS News Hour with my main man, Scarlett.
Na. No bullshit!
This is just it, breaking news. No more bullshit. No more bullshit.
I tell you what's bullshit. The media is bullshit. Mark, look at me here. Work with me here.
Yes.
Karen's off in her salon. I got nobody there. Nobody showed up for work today.
I'm watching, Charlie.
Check. Here's the thing. We got a political reporter here in Michigan. He's tweeting out, Gretchen Whitmer gonna be on The Daily Show drinking beer. Okay? He tweets out, Fox settles with Dominion for $750 million. But he doesn't tweet out that Congresswoman Slotkin, who wants to be your senator in Michigan, is signing non-disclosure agreements with the Chinese company run by the Chinese Communist Party. Nothing there.
An NDA.
A non-disclosure agreement. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And then Fox puts out a story about Slotkin signing a non-disclosure agreement with the Chinese, but nothing about the historic settlement where you got it wrong, that you lied about Dominion, that it wasn't stolen. What fucking happened to the media?
It's a great question. Talking to their own audiences.
Yeah, and everybody wants to be friends with the people that are considered the newsmakers rather than them being journalists and holding them accountable.
That's it, right? I mean, I just see a ghetto going on here. I'm on the left, I'm on the right, and the great mission of what we did was everybody gets held accountable. No fear, no favor. Mm-hmm. We're not invited to the parties. We're with the people, tell the truth no matter how it hurts. We're not getting it, and it's destroying the country.
Agreed. Yeah.
You both agree to that?
I do agree, yeah.
Yes, we do.
Well, I'm not sure. So I'm really pleased. Y'all know this program. You know what I'm into. This is what I'm into. I'm into the First Amendment. I'm into the fact that American democracy cannot work without an honest media. Now, I want this is I couldn't believe he did it. He's in Boca Raton. He just got back from the doctor, put his thumb up his ass. It's okay because Herschel, because your doctor's your best friend, so that just works on so many levels. It's Herschel Fink, ladies and gentlemen. Probably, if not one of the top two, certainly the top three First Amendment lawyers in the United States. We've done work together, he's been my lawyer. When he argues cases for me, he quotes cases that are his. He files a brief and goes, I quote myself. I've argued this before. Welcome in, Herschel. It's so great to have you.
I always do that.
He's showing off. So Herschel, let's get to it, brother. First of all, you have done work with Fox. You do work with local media, Fox 2, Detroit News, Free Press. So I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about the Dominion settlement. I don't know what I can ask you, but I'll just go like this. $750 million. The judge, Eric Davis, wrote in one ruling that it was, quote, crystal clear that Fox's statement regarding Dominion and the election fraud were untrue. And Fox was not required to apologize on this $750 million, but did say in a statement that the court had found, quote, certain claims about Dominion to be false. Put this in perspective of what we got this week in terms of the American landscape, media, democracy.
Well,
how was that for a big open-ended question? This means start tap dancing, bro.
No, listen. I'm not involved in that case in any way, shape, or form. I'm an observer of the scene, although I have represented, as you said, Fox stations, not the corporation, but in any event, it's an unprecedented case. Let's say that. I think it was would continue to be a defensible case under New York Times versus Sullivan and the precedents. But there's a lot at risk here. I mean, you had, and I understand this, it made sense to settle the case. It sounds like an extraordinary amount of money, and it is. There's never been a libel case settled for, or a judgment for that matter, anywhere near that. But it may have made sense in the context of the case.
Okay, pause. Pause. Would you stop pause, Herschel, pause. All right, stop the bullshitting and grabbing for words and being a lawyer. This is a bunch of people drive around in their car. What does this mean, brother? What does this mean?
It actually doesn't mean shit in terms of other cases. This is unique. This was a unique situation that made sense, obviously, to Fox to settle.
Why did it make sense to Fox, and why did it make sense to Dominion?
Well, for Dominion, I guess it's a lot of money. So,
right.
We'll take it. I mean, it's always a chance when you're talking about jury trials that it can go your way or not go your way. I mean, I think, I don't want to, say I could have done better, but I think that the lawyers that Fox had could have won this case in front of, if not a jury, then an appellate court. In fact, most libel cases are decided in favor of the media in the appellate courts. And the standard is very, very high. And notwithstanding what the judge said, it ain't necessarily what an appellate court would say. And if the standard could have been met.
So what is the standard? Let's do the standard. And you're talking about New York Times and Sullivan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me explain to the audience how I know it. I'm not allowed to print lies about you. Even if you're like a regular person, you're not a corporation, you're not a public official, you're not a public figure, you're regular. And I write something about you and it's incorrect and it's damaging to you. You can sue me and you have a very good chance of winning. What New York Times versus Sullivan did in 1964 is it created an extra standard for public officials, public figures, public corporations, and that meant that there had to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Herschel, jump in here, actual malice, reckless disregard for the truth. You knew it was false. You knew it. You didn't care. You kept on with it. Only then could something like Dominion or Taylor Swift or Gretchen Whitmer defeat the press. Is this correct?
Oversimplified by a great deal.
Well, thanks, Professor.
The standard. I taught media law for about 10 years.
Spoken like a lawyer,
Professor.
But no, the standard is for a libel plaintiff who is a public official, someone who appears to the public to have authority for the affairs of government and that sort of thing. The burden on that kind of a plaintiff is not to prove, not falsity, but to prove falsity with what is called, as you said, actual malice. What does that mean? Reckless disregard for the truth. What does that mean? The Supreme Court has defined that standard as meaning that you either knew it was false, proof that you knew it was false, or you had a high degree of awareness of probable falsity, and you published this falsehood, either knowing it was false, with a high degree of awareness of probable falsity, or while actually entertaining serious doubts as to the truth. And it's a subjective standard. It's one. What did the defendant believe? What did the defendant know? And it has to be proven to a jury, not just a little bit of proof, but a high degree of awareness. High degree of awareness.
Okay.
It has to be.
Okay, got that. So
it's a subjective standard.
we're looking at the totality of the settlement of this case, which is Fox is going to be really embarrassed with internal communications. Tucker Carlson thinks.
Well, there was that came out in Discovery that was troublesome, and to the company.
And I don't think Dominion could show $1.6 billion in damages. I don't even think the company's that big. So why wouldn't you take it? Right?
That's another thing.
And then Fox is going to fight tooth and nail to admit or apologize because they have yet another lawsuit with Smartmatics.
Yep.
That one's $2.7 billion. Mm-hmm. So we're at a stalemate here. Here's what I say. That guy, hey, dude, you, the guy with the ugly kids in Missouri, the one, threatening to beat my ass and stuff. You were wrong. They knew it was fake. They did it anyway. They're trying to save their audience. It was cratering. That's in the text. So we're now at a point. I'm glad. This is where I want to move it. That New York Times versus Sullivan, 1964. That was a time when there was CBS and the New York Times, and that was just about it. Now there's everybody. There's cuckoo-crazy.com. There's every Young Turks, Drew and Mike podcast, right? It was designed back in the day where a public official controlled the microphone and could answer the allegations.
Access.
That's right. But Herschel, where are we headed? Because Justice Gorsuch and Justice Thomas at the Supreme Court want to revisit Sullivan, meaning we lessen the standard. Is this correct for public figures and officials?
They've expressed doubt about whether that should be going forward the standard, that it's too difficult for a plaintiff to recover. I happen to think that's good. It should be difficult. It should be difficult because free speech is what should set the United States apart from any other country in the world. And I think it would be a terrible precedent to go back to what it was before, which if you go back in history, the whole reason for the New York Times versus Sullivan standard arose out of the civil rights movement in the early 60s, where newspapers, northern newspapers and television and radio were being sued left and right and getting $1 million judgments against them for reporting honestly about the civil rights movement. The New York Times itself arose out of all things, an advertisement published in the New York Times called Hear Their Voices, or something along those lines, their rising voices, which was about the treatment of Martin Luther King in Montgomery, Alabama. And there were multi-million-dollar judgments being issued against the northern media. And the Supreme Court recognized that we got to do something about this to keep the press free from being attacked by Southern media and bankrupt for honestly reporting the news. And so that's where the New York Times standard was created, and it saved honest reporting. Now, are there abuses? Have there been abuses? Hell yeah.
A shitload.
I mean, you get the case like the Sandman case. Sandman was the Covington students who were on the mall in Washington and were probably accosted by this Native American beating his drum, and the kids did nothing, but the New York or the Washington Post and
CNN,
NBC, and
reported the kid as a racist, and the kid wins the settlement. But again, he's not a public official; he was just a regular dude. But I think this.
Correct.
I'm glad that Dominion settled, because if Dominion had lost, this thing's going to go to appeal, and it's probably going to get picked up in the the Supreme Court. And I got a real bad feeling that that's going to be the case to overturn Sullivan, which, for what I do in service of my community, is I'm looking at these contracts, I'm looking at the policing, I'm looking at all of it, and if I get something wrong, I'm going down, and then it freezes American democracy and the kleptocracy takes over. You agree with that? Yeah.
I do. There was a lot at stake in this case.
That's coming, though, isn't it? Sooner or later.
I thought it was going to come out of the Sandman case, the Covington boys case, but the media settled. Big media companies settled because they, there's a saying in the law: bad facts make bad law. That was a bad facts case, and quite possibly Dominion might also have been a bad facts case. And those are cases you don't want to go all the way if you can help it.
Let me ask you this then. In the modern world, with Twitter, Facebook, you're willingly putting yourself out there, you're exposing your whole life. Are we getting to the point now where anybody that puts himself out on social media is a public figure?
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
I mean,
someone like, you're a public figure. Elon Musk is a public figure. A lot of people are public figures even in their communities. It's difficult to define.
But
One
you have
court
regular
called
people, if
like
you will,
nailing-
that are considered influencers that have the same reach and impact of a Charlie LeDuff or of someone else, and would they not be considered a public figure by their recognition, ability to reach and impact others in the public?
That's a great point. If Dylan Mulvaney,
that was my
whatever,
point. She just said it smarter.
whatever his name is, and notice I said he, but and knowingly, could very well be a public figure. Yeah, it's a whole new standard on these influencers. He had or has, a zillion followers, for whatever that's worth, and I think there's a good argument he's a public figure.
Should Sullivan, New York Times, it just apply to all public figures or just public officials, people that work for the public and create public policy?
Yeah, a few years after Times versus Sullivan in 1964, I think maybe 1968, whenever the Gertz case was, that was, there were a couple in between there. The Supreme Court realized that it was too narrow to include the constitutional protection just for public officials, and extended it to persons who have influence, good word there, influencers, who have influence on public affairs, but aren't or have a soapbox or inject themselves into controversy, and that's really what a public figure standard applies to. Persons who inject themselves knowingly into controversies become public figures, and that's what the standard is now. So I think certainly many of these influencers would clearly be public figures.
Now, Herschel, you've been at this game 50 years. You started in the newsroom, you were telling me, before we went to air. I didn't know that.
For a decade.
Reporter, editor, that whole thing?
I eventually ended up as night city editor at the Detroit News, even though I'm closely associated with the Detroit Free Press. But I was a reporter and editor for 10 years.
What do you make of the current state of media? Let me prime you here. I think it's shit. What do you think?
My clients are great.
Well, I didn't say your clients. You're not allowed to talk about your clients.
Well, I represent reputable news organizations, including Charlie LeDuff. But I think it's a story. It's basically a national media. I don't have a lot of respect for a lot of it.
Why?
But again, clients I represent, like.
Can you
Fox
stop being
Television.
a lawyer, please? We know your clients are great, and whenever you sign your name up to something, there's a real case to be had. But just you, as a guy that used to work in the business and knows the First Amendment inside and out, I don't think this country can work without a real unbiased media. I just don't see it.
You're totally right. You're totally right. I mean, the selective news that gets put out there is misinforming the public, because you don't get the Hunter Biden laptop from hell story unless, how long did it take for that to become known and for the New York Times to recognize that the laptop was real? The New York Post, thank God for it, broke that story years before. And it was, you couldn't utter what was in those stories. And even though anybody with half a sense knew that the laptop was real and that the Biden crime family was real and raking in millions of dollars from communist Chinese and others.
Herschel, right down the middle on that one.
Who cared knew that was the case, but you couldn't say it. You couldn't report it. The New York Times wouldn't report it. The Washington Post wouldn't report it. The networks wouldn't report it. It's outrageous.
It is outrageous. It's fucking news. Mark, go ahead.
Herschel,
that.
I was wondering, are there going to be any ramifications? Do you think news organizations will be more careful after the settlement with Dominion to make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted, or is it just going to be, hey, don't text each other about this, only talk in person?
Listen, I mean, when I give newsroom seminars, which I have done for many, many years, I always caution reporters and editors to be aware of that thing like that. I mean, there was a major case about 25, 30 years ago that involved it was against the Washington Post. And a copy editor on this story, which was about a executive.
Come on, old man.
What's that?
I said, come on, old man.
Wrote on something there, or an email or whatever it was, back to other staff members. This is libelous. And
so is the issue not getting? So is the issue not doing it, or just not getting caught.
Yeah.
So is it, if you're going to have these conversations, have them in person so they're not captured, or is it not have these conversations in the first place?
I'll take that one, Karen. I'll take that one, Herschel. Okay, I'll take that one. Great question, Karen. First of all, if you're a partisan douchebag, don't write it. But what's better to be is an open-minded person. Like, that's your job, is to be hired to vet everything. Just be, what woke is? Woke is being awoken. Open your eyes. Do what's right and what's in front of you.
Charlie, that's a kind of woke that I agree with. Is open your eyes to what's going on. But when I was a reporter, when I was in journalism school, and I was, and as a lawyer,
where'd you go to school?
Wayne State.
All right, public university. Continue, sir.
I was the editor-in-chief of the Daily Collegian, which was the newspaper at Wayne. I think they now call it the South End for whatever reason. But what we took pride in was masking our personal feelings. Didn't involve, you don't inject your feelings into your reporting. You play it down the middle. You try to present all sides of a controversy. And that was, even if you had strong feelings, you didn't allow that to affect your reporting. You reported fairly and evenly, and that was what we strive for, even though, of course, back then, reporters, journalists always had opinions and always tended to be on the left side of issues. But you tried to keep that out of your reporting. That's no longer the case. That's no longer what they teach in journalism school.
See, I say things have changed, and I don't mind putting a point of view. I went to journalism school, Cal Berkeley. It's not Wayne State, but it's...
Well, Cal Berkeley was, when you went back, it was probably,
They were a bit kooky, right? But I think you need to level with your audience, the reader, the watcher, where you're coming from. But you don't
label your shit as opinion, not as facts.
Okay, but have facts in your opinion, too. That's what drives me crazy. Like, these aren't facts. For instance, what do you make of the Twitter files, right? Like, we're now seeing Elon Musk turns them over to independent journalists like Matt Taibbi, right?
Yeah.
And he's not telling them what to do. Now, Taibbi is like a lefty, man. Like, Taibbi's a lefty. He's been on this,
He had the sense his mission was to tell it like it was.
And what did we find? That there was a nexus between the surveillance agencies, the Democratic National Party, the big tech execs, and the media working in concert, and often with disinformation, to quell free speech online. These weren't even Russian bots. These were just American citizens speaking their opinion, the First Amendment. And now what used to be the wide open, free landscape of the internet, they're starting to cut a runway through it. They're starting to squelch it.
It's censorship. It's actually government censorship.
Say it again, brother. It is. And it's disinformation.
What's hiding behind this stuff? They had this inside channel to Twitter. And that is should have been a violation of the First Amendment.
And then
horrible.
And then the spy agencies with their cutouts, right, are creating websites. These are the bots. We can't tell you about it. And it becomes this feedback loop where reporters are going to this website, which is funded by the security agencies, known by Twitter, and what's being put out there is not true, and we're at each other's throats. The Russian bots was false. The Russian hoax, the Steele dossier, that was false. The stolen election was false.
Outrageous. And thank God for Elon Musk buying Twitter. Bad deal, but for him, but good for us. Good for us because it shed light on what really is going on, who is really controlling what you see, what you hear, what you read.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Herschel Fink, the preeminent First Amendment attorney in the United States. He just told you he was left as a young man. And if you're not left as a young man, you're a coward. And he's a little bit right now in his older age. And if you're not a little bit right in your older age, you're a fool.
Okay? That's what they say.
And it's the truth. So listen to the man. Again, listen to the man. He's got nothing to gain here. I very much appreciate you being here. Mark, go ahead.
Herschel, I want to ask you, what do you say to people that say, Twitter's a private company. If they want to work with the government, that's bad business practice, but they're more than okay to do so. What do you say to that? Because,
it's true, but be honest with the people who are on your platform and tell them,
well said.
Musk decided last week he was going to label NPR as government-funded news, which it is. Good for him.
That's Herschel Fink, renowned First Amendment lawyer, telling you, well, it is.
I will say the irony, though, is then Elon then has cut off some of Matt Taibbi's stories that he put on Substack because that's a business decision where they compete against each other.
Well,
so
that I get.
Which gets me to the point of
that's not censorship, that's business.
How much do you guys put this on the media or the consumer of the media? Like, why aren't we smarter in consuming and realizing what's opinion, what is news, and where the source is?
I take this one, Herschel, because as he just said, they didn't tell us. You're right. I mean,
outside of Twitter,
we're sitting here on this program looking at social media going, why did our audience drop? Not the participation.
Sure.
Not those that sent it.
Well, that's bullshit, yeah.
Well, that's what's going on. And it coincided with what? Criticizing the government for its COVID response. We weren't even talking about vaccines. We weren't talking about masks. We were talking about the treatment of old people in the nursing homes, and all of a sudden, poof. And now you got your proof of what's going on. Right. Tell me. That's why we're leaving and we're doing this.
Alex Berenson was the one who was telling them what's going on, not Fauci.
And I know Alex, and I worked with him at the Times, and the guy is a reputable, honest, go where the facts take you. And you know what? He got his ass beat, and he won't quit. And now he's suing the White House. And I will bet you he's a liberal.
Yeah. Well, listen, I used to call myself a liberal because I wanted the truth. I wanted fair reporting. That used to be liberal.
Well, what do you call yourself now?
But ACLU now no longer does that.
No, they don't. They're part of the game. So what do you call yourself? Yep. Tell me what to call myself. Because I don't know what to call I've never moved, Herschel.
Me either. I consider myself a classic liberal, not what now they call a progressive.
We're Bill Maherrians.
Yes, I very much appreciate his honesty.
Okay, how about the next one? Okay, the Pentagon leaks, right? Air National Guardman Jack Teixeira gets caught by the New York Times. I gotta find the name of the guy working with the New York Times. So I got it here.
I kind of as a hero, frankly.
Go ahead, tell us why.
Because he's pulled the curtain back on what the government really was doing, what the Biden administration really was doing.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's go like this. The New York Times works with a freelancer named Eric Toller. Eric Toller, if you hit the hyperlink in the New York Times story, right? His day job is director of research and training for an intel community cutout named Bellingcat, funded by the spy agencies. So the New York Times is now working with the spy agencies, not to get the information that the whistleblower, whatever, he's a game or whatever, maybe he's just a dope showing off. They're not looking to publish that like they did the Pentagon Papers, right, with Ellsberg, or the Assange papers, like Pakistan's working with the Taliban. They now work with the spy agency to find out who this guy is, out him, put him in the paper.
Yeah.
Helicopters are overhead. Now, everybody hates the media. We're scum. We're leeches, merchants of misery. Now you can add in snitch. I'm in Pulitzer Hall at the New York Times. I'm family there. But I'm really disgusted about the way that they've been conducting themselves for the last decade.
I hear you.
It's a chilling effect. I mean, who's going to want to come to the media, hey, man, I got something, if they believe you're going to turn around and out them?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll find out with this new whistleblower who's just come forward, apparently, to blow the whistle on the Attorney General.
What? You got news? Breaking news? What are you talking about?
Well, it's just broken today.
Yeah.
Well, I've been busy putting a program together. I can't keep up like this. What's going on now?
It was regarding, I believe it was regarding the investigation into Hunter Biden and how the Justice Department was kind of slowing it down and squelching it. Do I have that right, Herschel?
And just today, or just recently, before we went live, it was revealed that Garland is the one that the whistleblower has the goods on.
Okay, that's new.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Is it a surprise?
Yes.
No, it's not a surprise.
Well, who reported this? First of all, who reported this?
Everybody.
It's all over.
Yeah.
It's
Everybody
all over
decided to do it?
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now
Well, there is a whistleblower. There's a whistleblower.
Okay,
he has not come forward because I don't think he has whistleblower protection yet, but his lawyer's out there explaining the story, but they think it's valid enough.
What? Tell me the story quickly in 2 sentences.
Well, just what I was saying before.
I know, but I still didn't get it. I'm dumb.
Herschel, correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, Herschel, correct me if I'm wrong. You don't got to do that. Go on.
Well, he has a better command of the story than I do. Have him describe it.
See, this is the thing about media. You got to make it. I'm not stupid, but just talk to me so I understand it. There's a whistleblower in the Hunter Biden laptop. What? That Attorney General Garland, while he was Attorney General?
That part I did not know.
Yeah.
Is trying to squelch the investigation.
Yeah.
Well, and let me go on record. Please give us your comments.
That Garland lied to Congress
about his no knowledge of the laptop, et cetera, his no involvement, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know the details of it. It's just coming out now.
Well, then again, it's too soon. This egg isn't cooked, right?
Yeah.
Nah.
Well,
it is.
Well, I fool me once.
Am I too trusting in because it's being reported by what are reputable sources? I'm doing air quotes there. Am I too trusting to believe that they did research on it to see that there's enough here, there's enough meat here that this is probably true?
I don't know it, but again, I'm saying, it's less reputable. It's less reputable to me every day.
Well, the whistleblower wants to come forward and testify about Garland's false statements to Congress about the Biden family.
Yeah, that's really the story. He wants whistleblower protection so he can testify.
Okay, there is no such thing as this whistleblower protection. There is none. Whistleblower is this: if I rat on my boss, you can't fire me. But there's no whistleblower in terms of somebody's going to come after me.
Okay, he works for the DOJ, so.
Well, then you had to have internally reported it to the DOJ. So I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? All I know is it's a stinking mess and that we're trying our hardest here to tell you the truth and do the work, and no fear, no favor. Now, stay with us, Herschel. I just want to let you all know that Luke Nowacki's probably interested when you're saying Fox could have won that case, in fact. Right? It's a toss-up. They could have won that case. But
I Yes, absolutely. They could have. Was it likely they would win it with the judge against them? But yeah, I think it was possible when it got to an appellate court, when it got to the Supreme Court. But then, of course, we have to worry about, we already know there are two members of the Supreme Court who have publicly, in opinions, stated that they want to re-examine New York Times versus Sullivan. I mean, there are all kinds of balls in the air that probably militated toward settling that case.
And I gotta tell my audience, please comment. Comment, like it, hit the subscription bell. We wanted to see your comments, but I would warn you: don't pick a side. You don't want to be a Bolshevik, and you don't want to be a nationalist, right? Because if New York Times Sullivan goes away, you're only going to get government propaganda. That's what you're going to get. Luke Nowacki wants to remind you, overreaction is not a strategy for the long-term investor. Neither is burying your head in the sand and hope. Okay, forget this. You know what? The market's tough right now. You know what I mean? Luke Nowacki does what you want him to do, but he gives you his advice. I'm not going to tell you what kind of advice he gave me, but I'm holding. I'm just holding. It's too messed up. I need advice on that. I'm not gambling. I'm trying to hang out for a long time. I want to keep my money, right? But if you want to gamble, he'll do that. He'll give you the best gamble. If you want to put your head in the pillow, he'll get you clean sheets. So you call him at 248-663-4748 for good advice and a good strategy. Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748. And Hall Financial lets you know the spring buying season's here. So home inventory's on the rise and rates have leveled off and are at the lowest they've been in months. So if you think it might be time to buy, the first call you need to make is Hall Financial. They have a ton of great programs right now that can save you money off your rate and even help with down payment assistance. Here come the numbers. This week, they just announced a 1% down program with up to $4,000 in forgivable down payment assistance for qualified buyers. And if you're thinking about spring, summer renovations or second home up north, I got a second home up north. It's a shack. It needs a roof. Take advantage of the equity. May do that. Hello, I'm going to call Hall, 866. Call Hall, right? Or go to, what is it?
Callhallfirst.com.
It's not on here. Yeah, callhallfirst.com. All right. Go to the website and click the link, get started. All right. Thousands of 5 stars. And finally, my favorite insurance company, Shoppers, what do you call it? They're a company.
Shoppers, yeah. Uh-huh.
When's the last time you checked your home and auto insurance rates? If you haven't checked in the past year, then chances are you're paying too much. Did you hear that? You're paying too much if you haven't looked. I'm going to the doctor, going to have him take a look. This is my insurance doctor. But if you work with Legacy Partners Insurance, they won't let it happen. Legacy Partner keeps an eye on your rates and continuously shops all the carriers to make sure you have the best program. And if you haven't called them this year, then you weren't fucking listening to me. So call them now, and you'll probably end up pissed off that you didn't fucking listen to me.
Yeah, think of the money you lost last year.
You lost. That's woo. You didn't have to call Luke. Not only does Legacy do home and auto, they also have great life insurance. And they can get you signed up for Medicare and Medicaid, so take care of your mom and pop. Herschel, you call Legacy. You're on Medicare. You're on Medicare now. No, it's Medicare. Once a year you have to re-up. You might not be getting the best deal, dude. I'm telling you. So give them a call. Hey, write this down. You got a pen? You got a pen? You're a lawyer. You got a pen or no? Write it down. 586. Go ahead. Don't fake it. 586-209-4106. I'll say it again. 586-209-4106, or just go to their website and click on the link and get started with the new quote. Did you write that down, Herschel?
You could probably remember it, Charlie.
Did you write it down, Herschel?
I'll play back the program.
Oh, there you go. And share. All right, let's do a little Detroit news and get out of here. Karen's got to do Let It Rip. I know. Right? I got to be out of this show to go do that dying show. I know. But we'll get her all prepared. She already knows this is probably the topic tonight. It's crime, is it not, Karen?
Yes, especially after what happened this past weekend. But, Charlie, as we talked earlier, you talked about this very same situation that occurred in May of 2022. So this is nothing new. Nothing has happened since. The program that they launched under U.S. Attorney Dawn Isom is a reconfiguration of a program they launched a decade ago. So everybody's scrambling, and I don't think anybody knows what to do.
Okay, you're right. So this all blows up because Chicago, it's just mayhem down there. The police are standing down. Kids are coming in. They're just going berserk, right? That's a nice, fair way to put it.
Craig, when we need him.
Where's James Craig when we need him? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he's at Sinbad.
Yeah.
He's at the corner chair having a drink, thinking about running for Senate. Okay, so anyway, so Chicago goes nuts, right? Chicago's got 2.6 million people. We got 0.6 million people, okay? Mm-hmm. Everybody's in Greektown. What did we get last week? Chicago got 1,000 kids running around, 2 people shot, nobody dead, right? Yep. We got 2 blocks in Greektown, and we got 2 dead, and they're misrepresenting how many were shot. It's 7 or 8 if you want to include the police-involved shooting, right? Mm-hmm. A guy stabbed in the neck. Nothing. Crickets. Yeah. So, yes, Karen, we're kicking their ass. We're not taking this. It's worse than Chicago. Like you said, it was the same last. I got to do this. So, Mayor Mike, hey, help me out here, Herschel. I'm allowed to do this, right? Because hyperbole is also covered. But
I don't know that.
Duggan faked it. Duggan gave a quote to the press. Quote, I was pretty much all of the afternoon and night on Saturday. Remember, told you, did I do the rant?
You did not do the rant yet.
Let me give you the summation here, okay? Michigan's new gun laws would not have stopped Anthony McRae from shooting up the campus at Michigan State University. Those new laws would have done nothing to prevent the carnage in Detroit's Greektown last weekend. There were 9, count them 9, maybe 10 shootings in the heart of the city's entertainment district. One was a mass shooting. That's 4. And my buddy was there, put the tourniquet on the man's skull as his life left him and his girlfriend was dying. This is what we get. But there was hardly a mention in the press until Karen mentioned these stupid press conferences. Ironically, last weekend was Orthodox Easter, and not a Greek could be found on the midnight streets, even though that's the location of their grand cathedral. You know how many people showed up for Holy Saturday service? 8.
That's it?
Used to be jammed. It's Greektown. Ugh. There's no better indication than that of a city lost. One casualty went to meet his maker Good Friday after throwing a drink in another man's face, and the following evening, a security guard at a liquor store was shot dead after he tried to mediate an argument about somebody cutting in line, and he was shot outside in front of a police officer. 3 bystanders were caught in the crossfire, including a teenager. Another man was stabbed in the neck, as I told you. 2 more were shot blocks away on the Riverwalk, which was recently voted best in America. Hey. I don't know about you, but you lose a couple of credit points when bodies are dropping on the Riverwalk. None of these shootings were committed with a long arm, which is a rifle or a shotgun. None of these shootings were accidents where children got a hold of their parents' handguns. The perpetrators were adults with prior gun charges. One guy, 2 felony gun charges and a 3rd weapons charge while he was in prison. You see, curfew ain't working there. One was a recent parolee, the other a suspect in a separate homicide just last month. There are plenty of police in Greektown during the weekends, but they're not proactive. Cops admit that. Business owner told me they were complaining about a dude smoking weed in the doorway of the restaurant, and the cop went, it's a free country. That's what he said. Yeah. Why make enemies? You can't blame the cop. Why make enemies? Why tell a guy to put out his blunt? Why tell a guy to pour out his drink? Hardly worth the bother. Besides, prosecutors rarely give hard time for weapons violations. Not in Wayne County, not in Ingham County. In those counties, prosecutors and judges routinely wave gun violators through the system, and that guy is usually back out on the street the next day waving at cops with his middle finger. Wash, rinse, repeat. Modern police strategy in the face of this minimalism is more minimalism. Wait for the gunfire, then chase the bad guy. And fuck you, Mayor. Nobody was called and helping the police triangulate. It went on right in front of their face. So stop with that. Stop with your failure. In any case, it's hard to triangulate a homicidal maniac before the fact, and it's harder still to police a population raised with guns, poverty, and violence. But there's a political side to all this, and it's about time that we started naming names. It's said that Mayor Mike is gearing up for a run for governor. But when it comes to violence, his record has been garbage. The homicide rate keeps climbing. The police statistically hide bodies. And we get lies about babies in strollers. Let me quote it. Where is it? Oh, Mike. Here's what Mike said after we ripped him up, Karen. I was pretty much all of the afternoon and night on Saturday in Greektown. It was an emotional roller coaster. During the day, I'd never seen so many families in strollers, and you could tell they were proud of their cities. Well, I was there, and there were no fucking strollers, and there were no babies. And you weren't there either. I put it out on Twitter. If anybody's got a photo of Mike there on Saturday, send it to me, and I'll give you $50. $50 a long way in this town. I didn't get nothing. Show me the picture, Mike. Maybe you're in the casino up there on closed circuit. I don't know. The media needs to grow a set. This is Detroit. We're tough. We can take the bad news because we're also smart. We can fix it. So where's Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, who refuses to fund the prosecutor's office properly? What happened to all that COVID money sent by Uncle Joe? Where's the Attorney General, Dana Nessel? You know, she of the crocodile tears who used the candlelight vigil at MSU in February as a backdrop for her CNN appearance. Nessel wondered aloud to Wolf Blitzer. Who the fuck watches Wolf Blitzer?
No one.
Why McRae was allowed to thumb his nose at his probation for carrying a concealed weapon on a bicycle that prosecutors claimed for plea bargaining purposes was an automobile. It's safe to assume, according to the court documents I reviewed, that it was because McRae kept failing his dope tests. Why has Nessel not opened an investigation into the Ingham County Prosecutor's Office for fabricating a lesser charge in order to push McRae through a shiftless and disintegrating court system? Will anybody be held accountable? Will anybody lose their law license for the unethical practice of encouraging a man to plead guilty to a crime he did not commit? If the high priests of the Uniparty wish to stop gun violence, a zero tolerance policy for illegal carry is a good place to start. It is a necessary place to start because hairspray and talking points only work on TV. Herschel.
I agree.
It's going to let that hang because he's a lawyer. It is unethical to have a man plead to a crime, even if it benefits him, to have him plead to a crime he did not commit. Answer the question, sir.
Of course.
Remember, you're under oath. Of course it is. Now, Karen, let's get back. Here. You talked about the press conference, and they did this last year, and I looked it up. Once you told me that, I looked it up. Okay.
Is this your comparison?
So last year, in May 2022, when we were bitching about bloodbath in Midtown, here's what the chief of police came out and said he was going to do. Extra summer police deployment. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Enforce city ordinances. Well, that's good. Curfew for minors. That's good, yeah. Parental responsibility.
Whatever that is.
Your minor shouldn't be out, so if your minor's out, you're in trouble.
Yeah, okay.
And metal detectors. So more cops, enforce ordinances. No kids on the street. If they are, you're in trouble. And metal detectors. So here's what the chief did today, Karen. More police deployment. Enforce curfew. Enforce parent responsibility. Enforce alcohol and noise ordinances. So,
seems very familiar.
Okay, there's something new. They're going to put big jumbotrons up there, put cameras on you, so you're on candid camera. But no metal detectors.
Charlie, this is a thing, and I don't know if they think that everybody has forgotten, because literally, they're responding like this issue in is, unique and freestanding, and it is literally a duplication of what took place last May of 2022. So I don't know if everybody has short memory, so they can keep, as you said earlier, wash, rinse, repeat, and that's what's going on. I mean, they're they're inverting the name on this initiative out of the U.S. Attorney's Office. But what's different about it? Absolutely nothing.
These are clowns. Here's another one from Duggan. Quote, nobody challenges them on this. They put this in the paper and on TV, and nobody asks them the obvious question. We have activity we have not seen in Detroit in many decades. We have more apartments downtown. We have more shopping and more restaurants downtown. We have more activities, he said twice. We are seeing crowds like we haven't seen in decades. Man, he repeated himself. No, that's not true. There's no crowds.
But he's not challenged, Charlie. And having worked for 2 mayors in this city, I tell you, this is the first time in this administration that I have seen the media give this administration a pass on everything. They reprint the press releases. They repeat the talking points. They don't ask questions. Whatever he says goes, and they help push a narrative that does not mirror the reality of those of us who live here.
Let's bring in Boca Raton. Are you saying that, Herschel? Are you seeing like press release journalism?
Well, there always has been the easy way. One problem is we don't have enough journalists anymore. We're losing them left and right.
If I could intercede here, I don't think we have enough journalists. We got too many journalists. We don't have enough reporters.
Mm-hmm.
These are self-important, elitist point of view. I go with the party, and I don't care about the people, and the people know it. They're leaving.
There's something else that we aren't talking about here, and that's the relationship. That's the relationship with the decision makers of these media entities and their ability to influence or control what is coming out of those platforms. So these relationships are taking on a whole new level of importance and impacting the information that's being disseminated to the public. Now, people won't admit that, but that's happening.
I say they're aiding and abetting the convergence of the government and corporations, which are creating a kleptocracy in this society. You got cushy socialism for the rich, right? You could see it in the windmills and the solar panels and the developments in Midtown and the hockey arenas and Stellantis over there. The rich are getting richer and the poor are living in a brutal and merciless capitalism, right? It's a decay of the poor, and the middle is demoralized, and they're picking a side and being tricked. And only when the day comes when your dreams don't come true will you find that you're in the gulag or that you're among the poor. That's what I see. That's what I see when Elissa Slotkin wants to be my senator. I've never heard of a person from Congress signing a non-disclosure agreement with a business company from China that's attached to the Chinese Communist Party.
That's out of her district, too.
That's not even in her district, and the congressman whose district it is on the committee about the Chinese People's Communist Party.
Yep.
This is unbelievable, and your feet must be... You're an idiot. This is not the leadership we need. What a dope bumbling around, trying to get in with the cool kids. And the town doesn't want this thing.
Nope. Nope. They've had town meeting after town meeting where they're pissed off about it.
Okay, just give them our money that we don't have. It's the fake Biden money anyway.
But those town meetings are just like the hearings for DTE and just like, the hearings that they have for everything else, like they had for District Detroit and like they're having for this I-375 expansion. Yeah, people can come, they can bitch and they'll listen, but nobody is taking into consideration what residents want.
Great
point. Let's take a look. I could guess. I mean, it's safe to assume. It could be wrong, but I know a few. If you look at the executives of the power company, you look at the executives of the development companies, you're Republicans. And it's the Democrats giving away the money that never seems to help us. So it's a uniparty. Yeah. It's a uniparty.
Charlie, they take money from, usually organizations, corporations have political action committees or PACs, and they donate to both sides. And, everybody takes the money. I mean, your governor's taking money, but everybody takes the money and they respond accordingly. I mean, it shows. If you look closely enough, it shows.
And let's show, because seeing's believing. Herschel, dig this one. Now, Stellantis has a gigantic plant on the east side of Detroit, right? It's the Mac Jefferson complex. Mm-hmm. We gave them about $500 million. They're basically promising us 3 shifts, right? All week long for 30 years. And that's how we're going to make the money back. All right. Well, we don't have that. It never works out that way. And the people are complaining about pollution, about the smells. The company's been fined very nominally. And we don't forget the people. So Red and Byron were out in the vacant lot last week smelling it. And they decided to go back to where the human beings are, the ones that are supposed to be represented by their representatives. And let's see if they are. I haven't seen it. I bet it's good.
What up, though? I'm down here at the Stellantis North Assembly plant on Jefferson and Connors. That's right, the last big green innovation for Detroit. It's supposed to bring 5,000 jobs, more money, more revenue, better lives. But in the last 2 years, they've been fined 6 times by the EPA for bringing nothing but a bunch of bad air. So let's go holler at the neighbors and see if they smell anything foul. Nothing like the fresh smell of plant burn off on a spring afternoon. Have you been smelling fumes and something different in the air?
Yeah, sometimes. At a certain time, you smell it, like when you come out and it's supposed to be fresh air, you get it. Okay, but it's at a certain time, like noon or 1 o'clock or whatever, and then sometime early in the morning, because I get up at 5 every morning. Okay. You come out here, you'll smell it, like somebody outside with a rotten turkey barbecuing, and you get the fumes and say they done burnt that meat, and then it feels like oil. You ever smell oil when somebody working on old cars, and it shouldn't smell like that.
Have you been smelling anything foul in the air?
Yes.
What does it smell like? Could you tell me?
Toxic, like toxic chemicals, something. I don't know. It's hard to describe it. It has actually made me leave my house. I had to leave. Usually, whenever I smell it, I leave.
Well, let me ask you this. As somebody that's been vested in the neighborhood, how do you feel about the fact that the city, the state, and the plant just kept doing what they was doing, and nobody even came over here to talk to you about what's going on over there?
Never. Are you smelling fumes? Never. That's the truth. Like you get up early in the morning, if you would look over there, you'll see the smokestack. It's a smokestack, and you can see it going in the air.
They've been fined 6 times. Mm-hmm. They only been ordered to pay $130,000 in fines now. Okay. And then they've been ordered to pay another $148,000, $40,000.
Helping them improve the neighborhood.
How do you feel about the fact, 1, they didn't even ask you, and 2, to find out that do you know that Stellantis and the state, because that's who sent them in and by the state, made a consent agreement on what was going to happen without including you as a resident?
Pissed off. Pissed. Because they don't live here. I do. We do.
And did you know, as part of that consent agreement with Stellantis and the state, they're supposed to plant some more trees? Let's wait 30 years and see if that helps clean the air. Now that you know what's going on with the air, would you like a mask so you make sure you're getting fresh air all the time? I'll be back to deliver you one, because this is my only one. Do you know what? Here at NBN News, hey, rather you, the resident, than you know what I'm saying, to help you through, because I don't know. You think it's going to help?
I don't know what it's going to do.
Well, after knocking on a few doors and talking to a few neighbors, some on camera, some off, we definitely figured out something stinks over here. And it's coming from right over there. That's right, the Stellantis smokestacks. So, until they figure this shit out, me and everybody else over here better keep their windows up and their mask on.
I don't know if I should talk about the deplorable state of things in that neighborhood, or Red with his the mask is there, the mask isn't there. He didn't give it to the old woman. What's going on here?
Stand up, yeah.
Well, Herschel, we'll go wind it up here, but they enter into a consent agreement, but nobody in the neighborhood is asked to sit at the table. Mm-hmm. Does that sound legitimate?
I don't know enough about it, Charlie, but if you say it, I'll believe it.
And that's a good answer. If that's true. If that's true, because we need to do some more digging, and when we do these things, we do not abandon the neighborhood. That we will adopt that neighborhood. They will have a voice with us. If that is true, that's not normal. Is it, in your legal opinion?
It's not a legal question. I don't know. I don't know enough facts about it.
There you go. Okay. Go ahead, Karen. I was trying to get Herschel to take the case.
I understand. I understand. He
said, well, hold on. Well, would you, Herschel?
I don't do that kind of law.
Hey, man, it's better than what they're getting. Karen, go ahead.
But Charlie, that's just like when they decided to shut down St. Jean when they were trying to keep them here. And Duggan said, I will do anything, to get them to keep the plant here. I'll even shut down St. Jean. Residents were upset because you wake up one day and St. Jean is shut down. Nobody was asked, nobody was told, nobody was included. So, yeah, that seems to be the MO. I mean, yeah.
Uniparty. All right, we'll stay on that. We're going to stay on it all. Good luck at Let It Rip tonight, Karen. Let them know that NBN will be on the streets of Greektown this weekend.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Herschel Fink, the man, the legend, Thomas Jefferson of the modern age. Thanks for being on, brother.
A pleasure.
See y'all.
Thank you.